The X2 represents more than just another box ticked in BMW's X model product development plan. It aims to redefine the kind of drive dynamics you can expect a compact SUV to deliver, and do so with more style and flair than the Munich maker has previously been able to offer to crossover buyers in the lower levels of its lineup. BMW has put in a huge amount of effort to differentiate the handling of this X2 from the X1 crossover it's based upon. So, while the two models share the same engines and UKL chassis, you'll immediately feel this sportier model to be far more of a driver's car. It sits up to 79mm lower than an X1, something emphasised at the wheel by a 20mm reduction in seat height positioning. In short, it's nothing like an SUV, which also becomes evident through the turns, where body control, grip levels and steering feedback are all delivered to a level really not that far off what you get in a hot hatch. Carefully chosen calibrations for the front McPherson strut and rear multi-link suspension setup pay off here, aided by a damping system about 10% stiffer than you'd find in an X1. The flip side of that is a rather over-firm ride, but avoid the really large wheel rim sizes and specify the optional adaptive suspension setup, and that needn't be a massive issue. The variable damping works via the settings of the Drive Performance Control vehicle dynamic system that allows you to tweak throttle response, steering feel, stability control thresholds and gear shift timings of the paddle shift automatic gearbox that most X2 variants come fitted with. On entry-level 2-litre models, that's the 192 horsepower 20i petrol and the 150 horsepower 18D diesel, buyers get the choice of a front-driven S-Drive setup or a four-wheel drive X-Drive package. The 4x4 setup's mandatory on the two quicker diesel variants, the 190 horsepower X-Drive 20D derivative we're trying here and the 231 horsepower X-Drive 25D. Efficiency's class competitive, the best figures possible from a front-driven S-Drive 18D diesel variant that manages up to 62.8 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and up to 119 grams per kilometre of CO2. Even next to its bigger coupe SUV BMW range stablemates, the X4 and the X6, the X2 makes a distinctive impression. It's 49mm shorter and 69mm lower than the more sensibly orientated X1 crossover model it's based upon, with short overhangs and a stretched coupe-style roofline that creates a sporty, swept-back profile that's cool and eye-catching, but hardly very SUV-like. And at the wheel, well, seated here, really the last thing you'd think you were in would be an SUV. The X1 model this car's based on doesn't perch you up particularly high, and in an X2 the front chairs position you another 20mm further down towards terra firma. That's the key change over an X1. Otherwise the cabin from that car replicates itself in this one, albeit with some extra more appealing trim pieces, contrast stitching on the seats and the dash, and reshaped upholstered handles. As you can see from the red leather upholstery specified here, there's also the option of getting it trimmed very brightly indeed. As usual in the brand's modern models, the iDrive infotainment setup's freestanding multifunction colour screen takes pride of place in the middle of the fascia, set high enough up the dash to allow you to refer to it without taking your eyes too far off the road. As in most cars that are coupe-like, rear three-quarter vision is slightly compromised by the chunky rear pillars and the reduced size of the rear screen, so it's just as well that rear parking sensors are standard across the range. Time to take a seat in the back. Now, you'd expect that this swept-back roofline would slightly compromise headroom back here. And that's pretty much how it turns out once you get inside, an issue you'd probably further exacerbate if you were to specify the optional glass roof. On the plus side though, the seats position you quite high up for a decent view forward, and they feature reclining backrests for greater comfort on longer trips. Let's take a look out back. Once the powered hatch raises, you're provided with a very usable 470 litre space, Now, if you need more room and need to push forward the backrests, there's the annoyance that you can't do that from the back here. You have to go around to the passenger compartment and pull up straps on the seat bases. If the item in question is merely long and thin, like a set of skis, it may suffice merely to flatten the middle part of this standard 40-20-40 split folding backrest. In summary, provided you can afford the premium asking prices, which are certainly ambitious but no more so than obvious rivals, there's lots to like here. And BMW has packaged it all up with enough product logic to allow you to justify what would essentially be an emotive rather than a fundamentally rational purchase. Probably nearly all the things you own that you really like fall into that category. And if an X2 does as well, then if you're browsing in this segment, it's quite possible that nothing else will do.